time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live for you. Monday, July 1st, 2019. Holy cow, we're now in the second half of 2019. How sweet it is, isn't it? Hope you like my new shirt, purchased at Banana Republic. Jen said, "Why are you being patriotic? Aren't we rebels against the United Corporations of America?" I said, "Yeah, but I like the shirt." So I got that today. Hope you like it. Sorry I'm a little bit late. God, we're doing so much after the debate that it's hard to be on time for our live streams, which are usually at 5 o'clock Eastern. Little public service announcement. I will be live after this live stream as a guest on the great Jamal Thomas's show. So I'll be going on there at 6:30 Eastern time. So if you want to check me out on Jamal's show, definitely watch me at 6:30 on, what's it called? The Progressive Soapbox. The Progressive Soapbox. Fantastic, fantastic. So, wow, what a busy couple of days. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Happy Canada Day to our wonderful viewers up north. We are the North. I hope Kawhi Leonard stays in Toronto, by the way, but that's just me. I want to remind you, very important, very, very important. I need you to smash that like button. More people that press the like button, the more people that will see this live stream. We are really moving all systems a gear. I think we're almost at 46,000 YouTube subscribers, which would give us a 3,000 subscriber bump. A 3,000 subscriber bump since going down to Miami to cover the debate. So yeah, we're 100 subscribers away from 46,000. So if you happen to be somebody watching that hasn't subscribed, what in Lord's name are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Also hit all notifications once you hit the subscribe button. Also, we are now at an amazing 562 Status Coup members. We grew so far 82 members. When I landed in Miami just a few days ago to cover the debate, we were at like 480. So we've gone up over 80 paying members. You see what happens when you go out in the field and give the microphone back to the people? More people want to join our media revolution. So we're not stopping. No. We got momentum and we're not stopping. So every single person watching, for all 150 of you, if you're not a Status Coup member yet, I hope you'll consider becoming one. The more reporting we do today and the more reporting we're going to do this week. And we still have some stuff from the debate that we have not published yet that we're going to be publishing. So definitely, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a Status Coup member for as low as $5 to $10 a month or $179 annually. This is how we are able to afford going out in the field, trying to grow the grassroots way. And that's one member at a time, $5, $10, or $179 annually. And if you're a member, enjoy the bonus content that we're posting from the debate. Behind the scenes videos Ty and I did that are not available for YouTube, but are available for our members. Again, statuscoup.com/join. And also a quick update, we are at $62,790 on our GoFundMe. So just a little over $200 away from that $63,000 mark. Our overall goal is $85,000. So every single day, we're getting closer to that $85,000. Let me tell you, if we could raise that extra money to hit that $85,000, we would have a very nice runway to get out there and cover Bernie's campaign, Tulsi's campaign. Our new reporter, Marcus Ely, is going to be hitting the road to cover Warren's campaign over the next few days. You know, I got my problems with Warren, but we got to be fair, so we want to cover her campaign too. But we will challenge her if we get the chance. Marcus is going to be going to a few Warren events tomorrow, I believe, in Nevada. So, also, follow us at Status Coup on the Twitter. That's at Status Coup. I'm at Jordan Chariton. Subscribe to our podcast. That's bit.ly/Status Coup podcast. And join our email list, statuscoup.com. And you will see a little section to enter your email. So, and this is a super chat. So if you're feeling super, let us know in the super chat. However you want to do it. If you want to leave some support in the GoFundMe, if you want to leave some support in the super chat, whatever floats your boat. But if you're going to do anything, if you ask me, Jordan, if I'm going to do anything, what do you want me to do? Become a member. Statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. Is real independent journalism worth $5 to $10 a month? I believe it is. So, and remember, we got 188 people watching. 188 people watching. Only 100 of you have pressed the like button. If you are watching on your mobile device, temporarily get out of the live chat, press that thumbs up button, and then go back in the live chat. The more people that press that like button, the more people that will see this here live stream. So I want to start on something, not the presidential campaign, something that the jerk-offs at CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, none of them are going to cover it. So I don't call this the United States of America. I call this the United Corporations of America. And as part of that, we basically have sociopaths running the country pretty much in every sector. In the government, in academia, in the corporations, in the think tanks. Basically sociopaths that are so out of touch, and deliberately so. They are deliberately out of touch. So sometimes, very rarely, very, very rarely am I surprised by corruption. I've seen it. I've pretty much seen just about anything. But there are some headlines that are so absolutely shocking that you have to look twice. You have to look 3 times. You have to look 10 times. And when I saw this headline, I just couldn't believe it. Former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder is named a Harvard University Fellow. A former Michigan governor who's been criticized for his administration's role in the Flint water crisis is headed to Harvard University to teach and study subjects related to state and local government. Harvard's John F. Kennedy School of Government announced Friday that Rick Snyder begins a work as a senior research fellow Monday, meaning today. His fellowship is with the school's Taubman Center for State and Local Government. Center Director Jeffrey Liebman says in a statement, the 2-term Republican governor brings, quote, expertise in management, public policy, and promoting civility. I just want to have a collective moment of silence for our basic humanity, because now it's out the door. Can you join me in that moment of silence? I thought, honestly, I thought that this was The Onion when I saw this. I really thought this was I'm not kidding. I thought it was The Onion when I saw this on Twitter. I want to be clear. I was not poisoned. I'm a white dude. But I've been to Flint 14 times since 2016. Jen Status Quo's co-founder, who's in the Super Chat now. This is a Super Chat. Has been there, I think, 4 or 5 times, Jen. Ty has been there probably 10 times. So between us all, we've been there quite a lot. Governor Rick Snyder, and for those of you that are not aware, recently all of the remaining criminal charges related to the Flint water crisis were dropped. I, of course, reported on that and did a video. And I can't get into details, but based on the sources I have, I believe that a big reason they were dropped is potentially to go after Governor Rick Snyder. I believe that based on the sources that I have, I can't go into such detail, I believe that the highest level officials that were being charged, that is Nick Lyon, the Director of Health and Human Services for the the Director of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, I believe that essentially in order to get information from him that would lead to the Attorney General's office being able to prosecute Governor Snyder, I believe that to get that information from him and some others that they dropped the charges, I believe they dropped the charges as a result. I don't have any confirmation. This is just my belief. I'm not giving you any, concrete reporting, just based on a source that I have. And this source has been very right the majority of the time they've given me information. So, putting that aside, Rick Snyder, let's take this statement. Let's take this statement literally for what they said and go through it line by line. Expertise in management. Expertise in management. Governor Rick Snyder appointed unelected emergency managers. You want to talk about the fucking threat of the Russian boogeyman to our democracy? This governor appointed unelected emergency managers, essentially hijacking democracy from Flint, Michigan, which is 42% poverty. He stripped democracy away from Flint, Michigan. So he put in his own little stooge for emergency managers in Flint. And these are the men who decided what a good idea it would be, while we're trying to privatize the water system, let's switch to the Flint River, which had General Motors dumping its waste products in it for a century, which had dead bodies floating around, which if you look at it, look green from street level. And let's not put in the Department of Environmental Quality. Let's try to save some money. So we're not going to put in the proper corrosion control chemicals into the water so we could save money. So this governor, who apparently Harvard says is an expert on management and public policy and promoting civility, this governor appointed unelected emergency managers who together poisoned an impoverished majority-minority community. Yeah, he's got some expertise in poisoning fucking poor people. Sorry, Jen. We're demonetized today. I don't give a shit. This governor not only poisoned these people, not only perjured himself in front of Congress. For those of you that don't know, this governor went in front of Congress in 2016 and he claimed, I didn't know a thing about the Flint water problem or the lead problem or the Legionella problem until recently. His own state-appointed employee who he appointed to be the first responder to the Flint water crisis testified under oath. Governor Rick Snyder knew months before he told Congress about the Legionella threat, which killed, on paper, 12 people, but PBS reported it could be up to 120 people that died from Legionella in Flint. He knew months before he said he knew. That's perjuring himself in front of Congress, but, white, powerful people in this country, they could do whatever they want, right? There's 3 legal systems. The first one is for rich, powerful white dudes. The second one is for like what's left of the middle class, you and I. And the third one is for black, brown, and indigenous people. And for somebody that told me to calm down, go fuck yourself. Don't watch. This is not an issue to be calm about. I know, poor form to tell the audience to fuck themselves, but I'm a little worked up. So this guy lied to Congress, lied to state investigators. He not only, you want to talk about civility? Harvard, Detroit Free Press, this Harvard guy says, and promoting civility. This governor was trying to shut down the free water distribution stations around Flint pretty much from the moment he opened it. This governor defied a court order from a judge to deliver bottled water home to home in Flint. He was mandated by a judge to do this. Refused. Thank you, Balthazar, $4.99 in the super chat. As if it needed to get worse, the GM plant was swapped back to Lake Huron because the Flint River was corroding their autopipes in the rinse cycles. That's right. This governor perjured himself in front of Congress, lied about when he knew about the Flint water crisis, and then this governor, do you know how much the residents of Michigan, including Flint, have paid out of their taxpayer dollars for this governor and his state officials for their criminal defense? Nearly $30 million. This governor told the black mayor of Flint, do you want to talk about civility? He told the black mayor of Flint, get over it already. I mean, this is no surprise. Harvard, Rick Snyder is just a dime a dozen. Just look at this from last year. Harvard has 2 years ago, has a nice conversation with war criminal Henry Kissinger. This is who excels at Harvard. This is who gets fellowships at Harvard. You know, people who poison poor communities, people who start wars under false pretenses. I'm sure pretty soon they'll invite Dick Cheney for tea. I'm sure Donald Trump, when he's not president, will become a fellow at Harvard. And I usually don't get this crazy. But what in the world kind of country do we live in when people, by the way, there's a very likely chance that this governor that Harvard University just hired as a fellow could be criminally prosecuted. I'm just telling you based on the sources that I have. He's not out of the water yet, no pun intended. And if you need any reminder what this governor allowed to happen when he knew what was going on, the water was switched on April 25th, 2014. The residents started complaining immediately of brown water, of rashes, of hair loss, of nosebleeds, and worse. This governor's administration did not acknowledge it for 18 months. He allowed children to be poisoned for 18 months. He allowed seniors to be poisoned for 18 months. He allowed black people to be poisoned for 18 months. Poor white people to be poisoned for 18 months. Undocumented people to be poisoned for 18 months. And then, to put a bow on it, and this is the reporting Jen and I did in Flint, Michigan. Thank you, Martin, for the $2 in the super chat. And then, after Jen and I, in the early days of status quo, knocked on almost 500 doors last summer and fall, we found that this governor's Department of Environmental Quality cheated on the water testing for nearly 2 years. What they did was go into residents' homes, mostly poor black people who don't know what they were doing. They were just happy some officials from the state were there to test their water, and they were running the residents' water right before collecting the samples. aka flushing. Illegal. If it's a lead and copper sample meant for EPA regulatory compliance, you cannot flush the water even for 10 seconds. You have to turn on the water, put the sample bottle in right away. Because if you flush it, you're just flushing out the lead. It's called artificially lowering the lead levels. This governor's environmental department did this for 2 years, and then the governor took that data that was cooked and said, mission accomplished, the water's fine, we're shutting down the water pods. And our reporting shows, that this governor coordinated with the environmental department that cooked the numbers on how to respond to status quo. They had the same exact response, which shows coordination. This is why I met with the Attorney General of Michigan's office and the Solicitor General in February. This is what Flushing Flint, our documentary, is based on. I ain't going to jinx it, but we might have some good news on that documentary and distribution very soon. So if you're new to the Flint water crisis, I'm sorry to the viewers who have seen this video, but I just want you to know, this is in April of this year. We went back to Flint for the 5-year anniversary. We were the only national media outlet on the ground in the 5-year anniversary. Here is what this governor presided over. Here is what this governor lied about. Here is what this governor covered up.
Give me your past, give me your present, give me your night sky.
We've been tormented for 5 years. 5 years we've been tormented with dirty, nasty, unsafe, unhealthy water. The pods are not open anymore because they say the water is fixed. But if it's fixed, tell me where it's fixed. If it's fixed, tell me who fixed it. If it's fixed, tell me when they fixed it.
It is not over. It's not a joke. It's not funny. The water is dirty.
44 years old. She died an absolutely horrible death because they lied to her about the water. Her skin was torn off of her body. Justice needs to be done for the Flint residents, and it needs to be done now.
I see dead GM workers and my sisters and my family.
I took him to McLaren. I trusted the hospital. I made the biggest mistake in my life. They said he had an unusual pneumonia. The bacteria is eating up all his red blood cells. And even when he was dying, I was trying to bathe him and scrub him in the same water that was ripping his life out.
I give you honesty, loyalty. I give you consistent.
My father, Joseph Clement, may he rest in complete power, was a victim of the water crisis. My father's body was riddled with cancer. She had her breast removed, and then they ended up taking her stomach.
I lost my daughter's dad, who died from bacterial pneumonia August of 2015 before McLaren and the state decided that it was a Legionnaires bacteria.
My son had gotten really sick and he was on life support. They tested him for everything and they said it wasn't anything, but he was spitting out his insides, and to touch his mouth, blood was just gushing out. They said it looked like it was Legionnaires disease.
Flint water contributed to my mama. She just died in January from kidney failure and a whole bunch of things wrong with her.
It's like Russian roulette. You never know if you're going to get Legionnaires when you touch that water, take a shower. You just don't know. And, we just want people to know not to drink that water. That water is still not safe to drink. Still, this is happening today. It's not over. It's never been over. Whoever said it's over, it's a lie. It is a flat-out lie. It's still continuing. 5 years and counting.
This place ain't safe. It's not safe at all. We got a pistol in our mouth every day. It's called tap water.
I don't know what's next. I really don't. When Trump inevitably fires John Bolton, is the Boy Scouts of America going to make him their sponsor? We're going to have, I don't know, the NFL have Dick Cheney come do coin toss at the next Super Bowl? Harvard University is literally the only class that Rick Snyder should be teaching is how to poison a whole community and then cover it up. And he should be teaching it in jail. I know I'm a journalist. I know I'm not supposed to, I'm supposed to be neutral and a robot. No. Don't be neutral to a runaway train. Harvard, and we're going to name names here, folks. I don't know who decided to bring on Rick Snyder at Harvard, but Rick Snyder is going to be teaching in the Taubman Center for State and Local Government. And the head of that center is a guy named Jeffrey Liebman. I don't know if it was Jeffrey Liebman who decided to bring on Rick Snyder, or I don't know if it was board members at Harvard. I don't know who it was. But they should be held accountable. Because let me tell you something. You cannot teach students, I don't care if it's at Harvard, I don't care if it's at a community school, you cannot elevate criminals and normalize criminals. Not just criminals, but racists. This is not just environmental racism. This was straight up racism, and it's fascism. The students of Harvard should not have in front of them Rick Snyder as some teacher or some mentor. It's offensive on its face. And I don't pretend to speak for the residents of Flint, but I could tell you, of all the things that I've ever tweeted, the tweet that I put out yesterday about this, I have never seen more venom on Twitter in response to something I tweeted. Not at me, at Harvard. I've never, ever seen more venom than this tweet I put out. I'm not naive. I don't think Harvard is run by people who get it. Harvard's not run by people who are on the streets with the people of Flint. This guy who runs this center probably never met somebody from Flint. But you are basically spitting on the graves of those who have died in Flint. You are basically spitting at the mothers that I've sat on porches with, who are literally 37 years old, but whose body is treating them like they're 80 years old. You are spitting on the children who are forgetting their letters in their alphabet, are forgetting numbers, are instead of calling him mama, they're calling him baba. You are spitting on the people who are taking showers today and almost fainting because the water's still screwed up. You are spitting on the people who are still getting rashes today. Jen, please put this guy's email and phone number in the super chat. I'm just a messenger, folks. This is the information. You do with it what you would like. But I think if Harvard University is going to hire Rick Snyder as some teacher on civics and civility and how to run state and local government, yeah, he did a good job running state and local government, giving billions of dollars in tax cuts to his donors, giving billions of dollars of subsidies to his corporate donors, deregulating and poisoning a whole community. It's disgusting. And this is the problem in America, and this is why I personally support Bernie Sanders. You could have great plans. Elizabeth Warren has some good plans. Okay? Tulsi, I think, has good plans. But the system in this country, political, academic, corporate, and otherwise, is rotten at its core because it's corrupt and it's rigged and it's one revolving door of sociopaths, of corporate criminals. And until you attack the system, It doesn't matter what your plans are. Thank you for the super chat. Krillin, $2. What was the role of the EPA during this? The role of the EPA was to help them cover it up. The EPA, on the record, Jen, if you don't mind putting our original story about the water testing in the live chat too, the EPA, on the record, told us that the testing that we found that the Department of Environmental Quality from Michigan did is against their regulations. It's against their regulations for water testing, also known as they cheated. They cheated on the water testing. They cooked up fake numbers to declare the water safe. That is criminal. As Aaron Brockovich said, it's a crime. It's falsifying a federal regulatory compliance test. It is a crime. And the EPA confirmed on the record, this is against our regulations. So when I asked the EPA, so what are you going to do about it? So does Flint need to be retested with an independent monitor watching the testing? Should people be held criminally liable? There's the story. Jen just put it in the super chat. This is from weeks Jen and I spent knocking on doors in 100-degree weather to find this story. And we have a documentary that we're trying to get picked up by a major platform. So we'll have news about that hopefully soon. Flushing Flint, which documents our reporting to find out this story. But the EPA, they just told me Flint is meeting EPA regulatory compliance based on the numbers we have. AKA, we don't fucking care if they cook the numbers. We're done. The people of Flint can fend for themselves. So what can you do? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I just had back surgery. I actually have an ice pack while I'm doing this because my back is hurting me after being down there in Miami, which is why you should become a Status Quo member because I am hitting the trenches, even though I should be going a little bit slower pace. Just had my second back surgery in a year and 2 months, but I said I had to go to Miami. We had to cover it. I think it was amazing. I think we got a lot of great stuff that no one else was doing, from the interview with Trump supporters to covering the Medicare for All Green New Deal rally to interviewing Bernie supporters to interviewing Tulsi supporters and to storming the gates at the front desk to try and get in. So you could watch all of that. It's already up on the channel. But what you could do, I'll tell you what, if they don't reverse this decision, I'm going up to Harvard. And I don't really care what happens to me. If they want to arrest me, so be it. Because this man needs to be held accountable. This school needs to be held accountable. They need to explain why they are elevating a governor, whether he intended to poison them or not. Put it aside. How are you going to elevate a man who presided over the worst environmental calamity in American history? A man-made environmental calamity. One of the worst cases of environmental racism maybe ever in American history. I want to know how they want to answer that. We will get it on video. I don't care if I have to sleep outside their home. Not threatening physical violence. That's not how we roll. And yes, become a Status Quo member. This is how we can get in the faces of these corrupt individuals, corporations, academics, and otherwise. We need to grow our army. There are some outlets that ask you to become members, and they're going to give you the sun, the moon, and the stars, and what do you end up getting? 24/7 Trump, 24/7 Russia, 24/7 Stormy Daniels, 24/7, Kamala had a zinger over Joe Biden. No. We're here in real America, not Sarah Palin's real America, actual real America, where corporate poisoners and governmental poisoners like Rick Snyder are elevated to Harvard fellowships. So I hope statusquo.com/join. I mean it. This is not something so like Jen and I could become millionaires. That's not going to happen. This is so we could fund the reporting. We are going up to Harvard if they don't reverse this. Period. End of story. And let me tell you something. Can you imagine if your community got poisoned, if 5 years later the water was still messed up, if friends of yours have died, if your children are cognitively impaired, and the governor or the mayor that presided over it got a prestigious job at Harvard? Can you imagine the mental toll this is taking on the people of Flint? Why should they think they even live in a democracy? Why should they think that the government gives one damn about them? They shouldn't. It's a disgrace. An absolute disgrace. I'll have updates on this. Jen, please put it in the super chat one more time, the email and the number. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you the information. This is the guy's email who presides over this department that just hired Snyder, and that's his number. Who knows? Maybe if he's flooded, maybe it'll make a difference. Maybe it will make a difference. Moving on. From Harvard and its corruption. Oh, I should announce also, I wish I had my blower. From one terrible topic to one victory, we just passed $63,000. Thank you, Carol Edwards. $200 in the GoFundMe. You just got us to $63,000. I so appreciate it, Carol. You have given several times generous amounts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are now just $22,000 away. $22,000 from our goal. It's getting closer, folks. I know it's been a journey, this GoFundMe. We started in September. We took a 3-month break because we could not go live for 3 months, which is a whole nother story. Thank you to YouTube for knocking our ability to go live. I digress. Thank you, Kelly Elaine, for the $10. Also, Kelly has donated many times. Robert O'Neill, $90. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is what's helping us stay independent and get in the field. GoFundMe is important, and membership is honestly more important, because membership is how we grow for the long term. We're focused on the short term, which is the GoFundMe, but also the long term, which is growing as strong. Bernie Sanders, for example, has created a small dollar online, donation engine. We're trying to do it similarly, but not, in one-time donations. We're trying to do it on monthly recurring subscribers, because that's how you are able to have the money. Like, for example, I just spoke to Jen today. Let's book now our flights and Airbnb and rent a car for the Detroit debate at the end of July. The only reason we're able to go to the Detroit debate is because our membership is growing. If our membership wasn't growing, we wouldn't have the money to do it. We are not taking money from Harvard. We are not asking Goldman Sachs or ExxonMobil or Pfizer or Facebook or real estate or any of these people to be our big corporate sponsors. We don't want their money. We're not taking their money. Look into my eyes. We will not sell out. Period. End of story. Save the videotape. We are trying to grow this from the grassroots. So again, become a Status Quo member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Super important. This is how we grow. And if you want us to stay on Flint, if you want us to get on other stories of water contamination. Somebody asked me about Newark. We are going to cover Newark. Ty is moving to New York at the end of July. So once he moves here, we're going to go to Newark and cover the water crisis there. So become a member. Got it? Good. Moving on. Oh, God. The Washington Post can't help itself. The Washington Post cannot help itself. And I always look for an opportunity for this one. Thank you, Colin Tooley. Honestly, the Washington Post, the New York Times, Associated Press, BuzzFeed, Daily Beast, CNN, MSNBC, they all have their heads so far in the sand, they are going to help elect Donald Trump for another 4 years. That's what's going to happen. They're all head buried in the sand. They're helping the choo-choo Joe Biden train keep going. And now Kamala Harris has joined. Kamala Harris has joined the fun on the Titanic. Her and Joe right in the front, iceberg right ahead, but nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to notice. Or they notice, but they don't care. So the Washington Post, who it seems like Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post now does like 4 negative Bernie Sanders stories a week. In 2016, they did 16 in a day. Now they have individual writers doing God knows how many negative stories about Bernie a day. So the Washington Post fact checker, this is their fact checker. This was his fact check today. Bernie said during the debate, 3 people in the country own more wealth than the bottom half of America. Factually accurate. This from the Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler. This snappy talking point is based on numbers that add up, but it's also a question of comparing apples to oranges. Sanders is drawing on a 2017 report from the left-leaning Institute for Policy Studies, which said that 3 billionaires, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, who owns the Amazon Washington Post, and Warren Buffett, had total wealth of $248.5 billion compared to $245 billion for the bottom 160 million of the United States. The wealth of the 3 men has gone up even more since then. But people in the bottom half have essentially no wealth, as debt cancels out whatever assets they might have. So the comparison is not especially meaningful. We once gave Sanders 3 Pinocchios when he asserted that the 6 wealthiest people had more wealth than the half of the world's population. That was an even more problematic comparison, and we said at the time it was better to focus on inequality within a country. I think David Sirota wrote it best. Wash Post fact checker criticizes Bernie Sanders for saying 3 families control more wealth than the bottom 50%. Because the bottom 50% have no wealth at all. This is not especially meaningful. What? So let me quite understand this. Let me quite understand this for the Washington Post. So he's a fact checker, right? So you see this? The talking point is based on numbers that add up, meaning, yes, this is factual. He's the fact checker. He's acknowledging Bernie Sanders is telling the truth. 3 men own more wealth than the bottom 50% of America. So that sickness, that crime, that injustice is just apples to oranges. According to the Washington Post, just apples to oranges. And hey, Bernie might be right. My job is a fact checker. So now we're moving the goalpost. Now, it's not really fact checking. Is it relevant? Is it relevant? So we're not fact checking. We're telling the audience what's relevant, which, dare I say, is a little biased of the Washington Post. At least I'm open about my bias. I am a progressive journalist. I don't hide it. It doesn't affect my facts. I do not lie for Bernie or Tulsi. When Bernie should be challenged, he will be, and I'm going to challenge him in a few minutes, actually. When Tulsi needs to be challenged, she will be. When Warren needs to be challenged, she will be. But is the new standard at the Washington Post only for Bernie Sanders? I have never, ever read a fact check for anyone else that the first sentence acknowledges they're being honest, this is factual, but it's really apples to oranges. It's really not relevant. It's not particularly meaningful that 3 Americans own more wealth than pretty much half the country. Not relevant. I'd like to know how much Glenn Kessler makes at the Washington Post to write such fucking moronic things. Like, it's apples to oranges that 3 men own more wealth than the bottom 90%. The bottom... than the bottom 50%. I'd like to know how much Glenn Kessler makes to write. It's not particularly meaningful that this is. Let me ask, what exactly is the point of a fact check if you acknowledge within the first sentence that it's factually correct. Isn't that what fact-checking is? Like, Jen just did a great piece on statusquo.com. Go check it out, on Kamala Harris lying. So Jen didn't do that fact check, saying, well, in the first sentence, what Kamala Harris is saying is factually correct, but it's not particularly meaningful. Oh, thanks, Jen. Reporter salaries at the Washington Post can range from $59,000 to $101,000. I promise you. This reporter is over $101,000. I promise you. He's been there for a while, and he's the fact checker. So, of course, see, what the corporate media, who is working for Jeff Bezos, this is the Amazon Washington Post, what they're trying to do is basically just gaslight America, particularly gaslight Bernie Sanders. So, you're seeing these arguments now being made. Does Bernie have anything new to say? I'm tired of hearing that same message about let's give health care to all. So boring. I'm tired of hearing this message of let's educate all our children. Can you change it up, Bernie? I'm tired of hearing this message about let's save the planet. It's so dull and boring, Bernie. We need a new record from time to time. So they're reaching with that. This is coming from, the Daily Kos, that guy who runs the Daily Kos. I saw one from Jess McIntosh, who was a Hillary Clinton campaign person, saying, what did she tweet? Let me find it, because I went after her on the Twitter yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away. Hold on. Jess McIntosh. I'm almost there. Oh, here we go. So now I'm waiting for Bernie to say something I didn't memorize by watching every debate in 2016. And John Graziano, follow him. So what if the poors are dying? I need Bernie to cater to my short attention span. Like, the stupidity of these people. They have nothing on the merits to say. They have nothing on the merits to say about Bernie Sanders, because you'd have to be a lunatic and a sociopath to say, oh no, I think people should die because they can't afford health care. I think that's better for America. I don't really think everyone should be educated. Tough shit if you can't get educated. So they can't say any of that. What are they going to say? Like, well, we need to make money, so if the planet dies, the planet dies. So they're going to say, well, I'm the fact checker, and factually, Bernie Sanders is correct, but it's kind of apples to it's like apples to oranges, and it's not particularly relevant that 3 people own more wealth than the bottom 50%. Not relevant. Or, I wish Bernie would change it up. I'm tired of hearing the same progressive message about healthcare for all, education for all, saving the planet. It's crazy. It's crazy. And by the way, I'm just keeping it real, folks. We haven't gotten any new member signups today, or during this live stream. We're still at 562. So who's with me? Let's get that number up a little bit. We got to grow. Every day we got to grow. So if you've been on the fence, we're going to, if you haven't seen it, we're going to air our campaign promo video in a little bit so you see what we've done. And we got plenty more to do. So statusquo.com/join. Keep it coming. We definitely want to hit the road like now to cover Bernie's campaign and Tulsi's campaign in particular. We don't quite have enough to do it consistently. So the more we grow, the more we could do that. So keep it coming. So the Washington Post was rightfully panned for this. This is from Mediaite. Washington Post fact checker gets dragged for attacking Bernie Sanders over extremely true fact. Washington Post fact checker Glenn Kessler was roundly criticized for attacking Bernie Sanders over a statement that was 100% true, but according to Kessler, was not especially meaningful because of how very true it was. So let's see. I showed you Sirota. Here's one. Glenn Kessler remains just an appalling ass-brain. I like that. Naomi LaChance. Democracy dies in the darkness when I can't even automatically read Glenn Kessler's latest garbage. Kessler doesn't get enough credit for being the most craven pundit worm in the game. I like that one. If you told me Glenn Kessler was actually an MK Ultra neurohacking psyop designed to give a specific kill list of intelligent readers aneurysms and corrode the collective intelligence of everyone who read him, I would have to give that 0 Pinocchios. I like that. I mean, it's unbelievable. This is fact-checking eating itself. Yes, the 3 richest people have more wealth than the bottom 50%, but that's 50% basically has no wealth at all, so it's not especially meaningful. So basically, the statement is true. The statement is true, but since it's true, and since they have no money, who cares? Yeah, democracy dies in the darkness, and the establishment thrives thanks to Glenn Kessler. One last topic. Reminder, if you're coming to this late, I'm going on Jamal Thomas at 6:30, so you could hop on over there and watch me on Jamal's show. Looking forward to that. One more reminder, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. It's how we grow, it's how we stay independent, and it's how we continue kicking ass. $5 a month, $10 a month, or $179 annually. Folks, little bone to pick with Bernie Sanders. Here's why. If I could find it.
As you know, has been calling for a revolution. Recently, in remarks to a group of wealthy donors, as you were speaking about the problem of income inequality in this country, you said, we shouldn't, quote, demonize the rich. You said, nobody has to be punished. No one's standard of living would change. Nothing would fundamentally change. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that is, look, Donald Trump thinks Wall Street built America. Ordinary middle-class Americans build America. My dad used to have an expression. He said, Joe, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's being able to look your kid in the eye and say everything's going to be okay. Too many people who are in the middle class and poor have had the bottom fall out under this proposal. What I'm saying is that we've got to be straightforward. We have to make sure we understand that to return dignity to the middle class, they have to have insurance that is covered and they can afford it. They have to make sure that we're in a situation where there's continuing education and they're able to pay for it. And they have to make sure that they're able to breathe air that is clean and they have water that they can drink. Look, Donald Trump has put us in a horrible situation. We do have enormous income inequality. And the one thing I agree on is we can make massive cuts in the $1.6 trillion in tax loopholes out there, and I would be going about eliminating Donald Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy.
Vice President Biden, thank you.
Don't you love how when Bernie Sanders is asked, are you going to raise taxes on the middle class? And he gives an answer, and Savannah Guthrie comes back, 10 more seconds because you didn't answer the question. But when Joe Biden 100% totally ignores the question, doesn't even answer what he meant by telling Wall Street, I'm going to fluff your pillow, Wall Street. Your life ain't going to change one bit. Actually, it's going to get better if I'm president. They say, thank you, Vice President Biden. Come back again. So, my time is up, Joe Biden, which I can't wait for the campaign ads. My time is up, where I've never seen him, in all the debates I've ever watched, I've never seen a candidate just preempt themselves and just basically cut themselves off. That's pretty weak of Joe Biden, but so be it. So, what was so astronomically absurd about that? Joe Biden literally told Wall Street donors at a fundraiser, just elect me, give me all your money, I won't do anything. I won't do anything. Not gonna increase your taxes, I'll deregulate, I'll give the same subsidies, I'm gonna fluff your pillows, tell me if you want milk chocolate or dark chocolate, I'll make sure it's on your pillow every morning when you wake up. And when he's asked about it, he gives some cockamamie answer about returning dignity to people. So he was asked directly, what did you mean by that? He didn't answer. He just went into some rambling talking point about returning dignity. I have no idea what he's talking about. Something about making sure they can afford insurance, even though he is offering a public option, which is really nothing. Oh, I'm starting to see a lot more people get a whiff of what YouTube's about, meaning they're never going to notify you. So that's why I tell my audience, I got to say it every day, don't rely on YouTube to notify you. They will not notify you. Maybe 4 out of 10 times you'll get a notification. It's because they are suppressing the hell out of this channel and other independent media channels. So what I need you to do, put a reminder in your phone, in your iPad, in your laptop, on your refrigerator, on your forehead, status quo, Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern Time, and Sunday, noon Eastern Time. 5 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Put it in your phone, remind yourself, because don't expect YouTube to remind you. Ain't gonna happen, folks. It's a modern marvel that we are almost about to hit 46,000 subscribers, considering half the people don't even know this exists. Do you know? I hosted a panel at the Left Forum on Saturday. On corporate media and the propaganda mission. Do you know that Medea Benjamin, the legendary Medea Benjamin of Code Pink, literally came up to me after and said, that was so great. What status quo? I didn't even know it existed. Medea Benjamin of Code Pink does not know this exists, and we've been going for 14 months. I didn't take it as an insult. A lot of people don't know this exists because it doesn't show up in recommended on YouTube. Even videos that do super well never show up in recommended. Even subscribers who subscribe to the channel get unsubscribed. Even if you click the notification bell, half the people get notified an hour later, sometimes a day later. It's called censorship, folks. And God willing, one day we'll be able to get the hell off YouTube if there's something else. But for now, it's our only choice. So we got to work with Jordan. Will you deport opponent for Susan Bonamich? I don't know what you're talking about. So that's why I tell my audience, it's unfortunate, but don't rely on the corporate censors and suppressors to notify you of anything. You gotta just have a schedule. You know, I don't know how other people do it. We go live at the same time every day. Occasionally I'm late based on my workload for the day. I'm going to get Medea on our show. I love Medea. Love her. She's great. Such a warrior for peace and against war. We're live Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern. If I'm late, it's usually 5:15, 5:30, but we're trying to go live 5 o'clock Eastern. So, do it. So, it's just, I gotta be honest with you. Is Bernie Sanders asleep during some of the, and I know some of you don't like when I take on Bernie, but that is when Joe Biden basically ignores the question and NBC allows him to. This is where you step in. Excuse me, Savannah. The vice president didn't exactly answer the question. I would like to know, and I'm sure millions of Americans, here's my Bernie voice, millions of Americans around the country who had their homes foreclosed on, whose life savings went up in smokes. I'm sure they would like to know what the vice president meant when he told Wall Street, nothing will change. Your standard of living will not change one iota. I'd like to know what the vice president meant, Savannah. Like Bernie Sanders, it took him an hour and 45 minutes to even say anything about Joe Biden's record. He mentioned his Iraq war vote. Welcome, new status quo member, Komori. Komori, welcome to the Media Revolution. We are now at 563 members. I know of the 312 watching. There are several of you that are not yet status quo members. I'm not calling you out. But if you got the money, if you got $5 to $10 a month, it's well spent on real independent journalism. Of course, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your bills this month, we don't want to make it worse for you. Just watch, press the like button, share it, spread the word. But if you do have $5 to $10 a month or $179 annually, I think it's well spent on real independent media. You get my drift? Welcome to the party. New member, Komori. Appreciate it. So I think that's a failed opportunity. I really do. I think that's a really, really failed opportunity for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has the opportunity in that moment, to say, Savannah, he didn't answer the question. You could talk about dignity till you're blue in the face. What did you mean when you told Wall Street nothing will change? Do you think that's what's going to defeat Donald Trump? A pro-Wall Street message? I don't think so. I do not think so. That's a good way to lose to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is still a fake populist, and it's going to take a real populist to expose that he's a fake populist. Take it from me. I just had an hour and a half in the hot, humid sun in Miami with those Trump supporters. It's gonna take a lot of work. And some of you say, "Oh, Jordan, relax. It's just the first debate. You know, he let Kamala and Joe duke it out, and now Biden has lost quite a few points." It doesn't matter. This is the same thing he did in 2016. He's showing up to a knife fight holding a spoon. It's not a personal attack. It's not negative campaigning to basically state facts. If NBC is going to ask him this question and he's going to totally ignore it, does Bernie Sanders actually think NBC is going to have a follow-up or challenge Joe Biden? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're not going to challenge him. They don't care. They're fine with him giving figurative sexual favors to Wall Street. NBC's owned by Comcast. What do they care if Wall Street does well? NBC does well if Wall Street does well. So I got to tell you, a little tough love. Bernie, take off the gloves. I don't know what you're waiting for. And by the way, it's not accurate to say, well, it's the first debate, don't worry about it. Well, the first debate, Kamala Harris has surged after the first debate. So has Elizabeth Warren. Granted, Elizabeth Warren wasn't on stage, but you only get one. I mean, obviously it's not Bernie Sanders' first impression, but in 2020 campaign, you only get one opportunity. Excuse me. You only get one opportunity at a first impression. And Kamala Harris, with her fake populism and her highly choreographed attack on Joe Biden, I liked it. She was right. I mean, I know she's full of shit otherwise, but it was a good moment for her. We can't lie. It was a very good moment for her, and she is up. This is the new HuffPost YouGov survey after the debate. You got 59% of Democrats polled saying Harris outperformed everyone else in the field, followed by Biden at 16% and Bernie at 11%. This was directly after the first debate. The second debate. So by Bernie not actually getting in there and fighting, and more importantly, exposing Joe Biden, and by the way, he could have turned to the other side and said, respectfully, Senator Harris, you're also doing very lavish fundraisers with Citigroup. You're about to have another fundraiser with a former Wells Fargo executive who defended the bank during the fake account scandal. If you don't do it, Bernie, NBC or CNN, which is the next debate host, they're not going to. And trust me, the audience will respond favorably to knowing this because they are not aware of who's doing fundraisers with Wall Street. Most people watching are not political diehards like me and you watching now. So I don't know. I don't know what status quo just as suggested, but on your homepage right at the top, it would be very helpful to list your broadcast times. A couple others I watch do that, and I find it very helpful. That is a great suggestion. We will do it. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. So, Carney, Bernie came out of the gate a little flat, but finished strong. But yeah, he should have been more assertive. He let Kamala have the floor too much. I agree. Oh, Free Thinker, you're talking about on YouTube. Okay. We'll see if we can do that. Thanks for letting us know. So, folks, I gotta go. I'm going on Jamal Thomas. So for 300 of you watching, give Jamal a little audience bump. Go check me out on Jamal's show. I'm about to go on there, I think, in a few minutes. Remember. Oh, he's emailing me right now. Hold on. Remember, We are trying to do something that no one else is doing. Real, independent, progressive, in the field, keyword in the field, journalism. Unless you want to depend on CNN to tell the truth. Unless you want to depend on MSNBC to cover the campaign and expose corrupt corporate establishment candidates. I think your money's better spent on us. Join the media revolution. I leave you with this. What we've already done, help us do more. Statuscoup.com/join.
I've been speaking with people online waiting to get in for a few hours, and a common thing you kind of hear from Bernie voters is, let's finish what we started.
We're going to win this election because we are putting together the strongest grassroots campaign in the history of American politics.
I'm live, sorry.
Hey everybody, look at Status Coup is out doing, what do they call this, reporting.
We the people, we got to be running Bernie as an independent regardless now.
Why is it that all of the money is going to the 1% and, our wages are staying flat? I mean, everybody's working hard. We're all going for the American dream, but it's not happening.
As the United States, if you were president, have to look at some of the things it's doing to spark radicalization.
Yeah, I think it is important to look at the ideology that is driving different terrorist groups.
Take a look outside of New York at the plight of the working man and woman of this country.
And we gotta keep it 100 and respect and lift up our black women. Most of them putting in that work was black women.
What does it mean to be a leader? Everybody in the front ain't a leader. You judge a leader by the work that he or she produces. We have a lack of leadership because we have people who are trying to force other people to be leaders.
He's going to need people actually correcting the record, because I think a lot of people, particularly some older, more establishment voters, think he's a socialist boogeyman, and they're going to need people knocking on their door to explain, no, he's not. He's just trying to do basically what like FDR did.
Where would we be if JFK said, going to the moon is a pie in the sky? I don't know. No, we make the decision to do it, and then we figure it out.
Bernie Sanders is at least coming out saying, hey, this is what I'm about. I've been saying the same thing throughout my entire 40 years of politics, and I have not detracted from that stand.
Kimberly Ellis, who's an African-American woman running for chair, and she almost beat Eric Bauman 2 years ago. And a lot of people think she did beat Eric Bauman, that he cheated to win. Anyway, Eric Bauman was forced to resign in November because of sexual harassment.
The Democratic Party likes to talk a lot of nonsense all the time about we support women of color, we're here from women of color, but when it comes time to create space for them to talk about the issues that are bothering them, they're never there to show up.
So is this your first Bernie Sanders rally?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
So what?
I'm a convert.
I think when the debates come around, I'd like to see him go a lot harder against his opponents. I like to see him call them out for the corruption that is very obvious.
This is why Status Coup exists. All the corporate folks have left. We're still here.
I want somebody to come in that's not owned, that doesn't owe anybody anything, and get our country back, get our country right again.
We have seen throughout history far too many examples of how U.S.-led regime change have been driven, frankly, by corporate interests.
Become a member of the Status Coup. We appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all so much. I'm literally doing my dream job because of y'all.
Now seeing Mexican kids getting deported without their parents, and it's just not okay. I'm just really disrespected. So I hope the next president does something good about this.
Well, your personal opinion is based on working in finance, not actually going out into the country and seeing what's actually happening.